Hi, welcome to KetoBiography. I'm your host, Robyn Dobbins. Today's guest once accepted feeling unwell as just part of life until a frightening type 2 diabetes diagnosis forced her to rethink everything. What followed was a determined, science minded experiment with keto, ketovore, carnivore, and intermittent fasting that not only turned her own health around, but also inspired her to quietly mentor a growing circle of friends and family, lead free fasting accountability groups, and even work toward formal metabolic health practitioner accreditation so she can better share this way of eating with others. Please welcome Joomee Kyler to Keto Biography. Hello, Joomee. Welcome.
Hi, Robyn. Thanks for having me here.
Oh,
And
I'm so excited to have you. So just so everybody knows, I'm putting you on the spot right away, just to make you feel comfortable.
yeah,
These are my favorite stories. It
uh,
is your first podcast, and that's honestly, this is why I started this podcast because these stories are out there and I know they're out there and they need to be told. So I'm so glad that we connected so that we get to hear your story today.
mhm,
So just so you know what I like to do is I like to turn it over to you and just
mhm.
let you share because there's that one person out there. It's going to
Okay,
resonate with that one person and I want you to talk to that person.
yeah. Okay, thank you. And then I'll just do a brief introduction of myself. And my name is Joomee, and I'm originally from South Korea, and I currently live in Toronto area in Ontario, Canada. And I'm a healthcare professional, and my title exactly is the cytotechnologist. And then I practice in diagnostic cytology for the past 20 years. And we're the specialized laboratory scientists that who examine the cell morphology and then under the microscope. And we detect signs of cancer and precancerous changes and infectious disease. Today, I'm not here to talk about cells, and I'm here to share my healing journey through keto and intermittent fasting, and then share some insights and experiences that I learned through my journey. And so I'll start from like the beginning, I guess. So since I was a baby, I was like always very fragile, right? That I never had a life-threatening illnesses, but I was always in and out of hospital constantly during my younger years. And then, to be honest, there were more sick days than good ones. At one point, I was on like antibiotics for almost 2 years straight because of my chronic ear infections, and which eventually damaged my hearing. And then you can only imagine that the that much antibiotics you did to my gut, right? And then on top of that, because I was such a sickly child, that my mom let me eat anything I wanted because she was just desperate to keep the food in me so that I could take the medicine, right? And then so of course, I wanted the hyper palatable and ultra processed food loaded with the refined carbs. And then, so I was a carb addict, like, before even I hit the puberty. And then looking back, then my insulin resistance likely started around then. And so, like, along the way that I had, I was always sick. But then the fast forward to my third year of university, and I hit a wall of very severe depression and anxiety back then I had no idea what I was having because the mental health wasn't talked about the way it is now, right? That's so that I had no idea what's happening to me, and then one day I just couldn't get out of the bed, and then I'd get up maybe once a day to eat and use the bathroom, and that was it. Like I didn't go to the lecture, I didn't see any friends, and it lasted about a month. And during that month, like I've lost over 30 pounds, and then one day it just got spontaneously resolved, and then I felt better than I had in many years. And it was a total mystery to me until this past year that once I learned about ketogenic metabolic therapy, and then it clicked because I've been unintentionally doing the intermittent fasting, and then I lost like weight, and then I probably put myself into ketosis, and then temporarily healed my brain and insulin resistant at that time, which resolved my depression and anxiety at that time. But because I didn't know what I was doing, that I went right back to old habits, and so it didn't last, right? And for a long time, I was functioning okay, but never felt good until like my second pregnancy, which was 15 years ago. That was when I was diagnosed with the carbohydrate intolerance, which is essentially borderline gestational diabetes. And then my oral glucose test showed a massive spike in my blood sugar after the first hour, but it was normalized by the second hour. And then, so if you understand the insulin resistant, you know exactly what that means, that the severe hyperinsulinemia, and then my body was pumping out like a massive amount of insulin just to keep it up, and I was struggling. And so I was referred to a gestational diabetes clinic, and the advice they gave me was, that they told me to eat like 6 times a day and 3 meals and 3 snacks. And they wanted me up to about like 150 carbs a day. And then for someone with severe insulin resistance, that is the exactly wrong advice. And I found it impossible to eat that often. Sometimes I skip a snack and dinner simply because I wasn't hungry. And then I got blamed in my weekly checkup because they detected ketones in my urine. And then, but uh, in reality, I think my body was trying to heal itself. And in the end, that I think the only reason I was discharged from the diabetes clinic with the normal blood sugar was that because I stopped listening to their advice. So after that pregnancy, that my blood sugar level came back to normal, but then I still remained pre-diabetic for years. And the only advice that I got from my healthcare team was go for a 30 minutes walk after eating. And not a single person told me to reduce my carb consumption or like a skip a meal, right? And then by 2016, that my health just was going downward spiral. And then I started experiencing severe symptoms of adenomyosis. And then if you aren't familiar with it, and it's a condition where the uterine lining grows into the muscular walls of uterus. And the tissue still acts like a normal lining, and so it thickens and breaks down and bleeds every single month inside your uterus. And then because the blood is trapped inside the wall, that the uterus becomes inflamed and tender. And then in my case, that actually tripled the size. And then I was living in a very severe pain for like 3 weeks out of every month. I was not functioning right at all. It also put me into like much higher risk for the endometrial cancer. So my doctor gave me two choices. First is the Lupron shot, which would put me into the sudden menopause, or partial hysterectomy. So that I chose the surgery, removing my uterus, and then so I could at least keep my own hormones. But then, so it felt like the only way to get my life back. And then after that, in April 2020, in the like middle of COVID lockdown, that I was diagnosed with metastatic thyroid cancer. And like looking back, that I had symptoms for many years, like a persistent left ear pain, gum inflammation, choking on food, and then cough that never went away. And then I had asked for the thyroid ultrasound multiple times, but I was always denied because my thyroid blood test was completely normal. And then, in fact, those labs stayed perfectly normal up until the day of surgery. And when I finally pushed for that ultrasound, and they found that the cancer has already spread through my central and left neck. And then my case was so deemed urgent during that lockdown, so that I went into the surgery like 2 weeks later, and then did a central and left neck dissection, and then they removed 62 lymph nodes, and I can't remember exactly, but there was 12 or 13 of them were cancerous. And then they told me that I might not be able to lift my left neck because I have to touch the nerve that goes behind my back. But thankfully that didn't happen. And the reason my labs were normal was that my primary tumor in my thyroid was like tiny. It was just like a spread through all the neck, but so that the most of my thyroid was functioning normal. And then that was why my blood test was normal, so that I tell everyone that you need the ultrasound, not the lab work. Don't trust the lab work. But anyway, so later that year that I underwent the radioactive iodine ablation, and then after the physical recovery, the hardest part was that uneasy feeling that stayed with me, right? That because I've always been a compliant person, and I don't like breaking rules. And as a medical professional myself, that I believed in the authority and the science and the modern medicine, but that system failed me basically. And then when I needed it the most, and then I ignored my gut feelings and deferred to a doctor's opinion just because the blood test looks normal, right? And for years, I agreed to just treat the symptoms instead of causes, and then using my eardrops for my ear pain, and then inhalers for the cough, and then but I realized that time that I should have been my own strongest advocate, right, for my health. And then, but also like while I was navigating my thyroid cancer diagnosis, I stumbled upon that an unusually high number of women who had thyroid cancer or have that they also faced uterine or breast cancer. And then I started digging into the research, and then even though most mainstream article, like they don't explain much, but that there is a clear connection between this hormone-related cancer and the connection with insulin resistance, right? That's when all this questions started. And so I began like living in a constant state of like a low grade anxiety, wondering if I'll have breast cancer next, right? For years. And then in December 2022, that following a long COVID for a couple months, that I was finally diagnosed with the type 2 diabetes. And honestly, that scared me the most. Like it scared me more than the cancer did, because I'm a healthcare professional, and I knew exactly what was waiting for me, like at the end of this diabetes road, right? That I was already feeling the early signs of like neuropathy, and my visions were like blurring, and then I would break out severe hives every evening, and then after a higher carb meal that I would nearly collapse, and probably because of severe like a postprandial hypoglycemia or something, and my blood sugar would like a crash. And like my depression and anxiety were back there too, because just like many years of constant illnesses, and then I didn't see the end of it, right? And then it felt like a just never ending cycle, and one after another, and for my entire life. And then so that's when the realization came that if I didn't do or change anything, I would not live another 10 years. That was my intuition. And then I wouldn't see my children growing up. And so I had to do something. And I had no idea what to do. But that day, that December 8th, 2022, and I call it my diabetes anniversary, and then I celebrate it every year now because it is literally like my second birthday because I was like reborn that day. I was so lucky. And then that day, out of like a sheer desperation, that I was searching Amazon for the diabetes cookbook. And then, but the algorithm led me to this book called The Obesity Code and the Diabetes Code. And then, so I ordered it, decided to read it. And then while waiting for the books, that I was like searching YouTube for the videos and podcasts. And then the first video I watched was the YouTube video of Dr. Canberra interviewing Dr. Jason Fung. And then I watched it, and I didn't wait because honestly, at that point, I had nothing to lose. So I decided to start keto and intermittent fasting from the next morning. So that, and because I work alone with a microscope all day, I had a perfect setup to listen to all these podcasts and audiobooks. And so I devoured the work from all these doctors like Dr. Fung, Dr. Berry, Dr. Ben Bingman, Dr. Lustig, and then, Nina Teicholz, and eventually Dr. Chris Palmer's on mental health. And then, so I studied like the human anatomy, physiology, biochemistry myself, so that everything they said made perfect sense to me. And then I was like, why don't more people talk about this? And so I started my low carb diet, and then cut out all snacking. And then once I got comfortable, I stopped counting macros, and because it was just too complicated for me, and I just simply cut out all the big offenders like grains, refined sugar, seed oil, and like nuts, and then dairy. And I mean, dairy is not bad for everyone, but then I just decided to reduce as much carb as possible. And then I moved from the 16-hour fast to 24-hour fast, and then eventually into alternative day fasting, and then 48 hours and 72 hours fasting. And I'm not saying intermittent fasting is necessary to heal metabolic illnesses for everyone, but I personally believe that it could become a very powerful tool when it's combined with keto. And then I think I was the proof to show that, because within the first month, the result showed, right? That and actually within first week, because all my inflammation vanished. That the gum disease that I had for like decades went away, and then all the swelling and body aches disappeared, and I lost 10 pounds in the first week. And then even if you're in a fat burning mode and do a full day fasting, you only lose maybe 0.5 pounds of fat per day. So that what I have shed in the first week was not fat, it was like excess water and inflammation in my body. And then all my chronic hives and allergy symptoms were gone. And then I've been on the prescription meds for the GERD for years. And then 1 week into keto and fasting, I didn't need them anymore. And then it didn't stop there. And by February, a sleep study proved that my sleep apnea was gone, and I could throw away the CPAP machine. And then another ultrasound showed that my severe fatty liver disappeared. And I also had a benign tumor that was being monitored. And then I did a colonoscopy, and the doctor was like, "It's gone." It's like, and then I don't need to come back until I was 50 for another colonoscopy. That told me that at that time I didn't understand why all these things were happening, but now I understand that between insulin and tumor growth, right? And then it doesn't surprise me anymore. And then even all the other symptoms like heart palpitation and depression and anxiety, they just all went away. and then by March 2023, and I knew this already because I've been tracking my blood sugar level with continuous glucose monitor. But then finally, the official lab showed the result. Then my type 2 diabetes was completely reversed. And in 3 months, my HbA1c dropped from 7.3 at the diagnosis. And then in 3 months, it was 5.2. And then in another 3 months, it was 4.9. And I've been maintaining around that level ever since. And but the most surprising change was in my lab report, right? That since December 2022, I haven't had a single respiratory illness up until now. And I used to be the person who caught every single thing within my range. And I've been hospitalized multiple times for flu in the past, and I go from that to I've never been sick past 3 years. That is the most remarkable change I've ever experienced, and the first time in my life that I actually know that what it feels like healthy, right? So when I got all this result within 3 months, that I was delighted, but also I started feeling a deep anger, because why had I never heard about this, right? That though I didn't know it in my standard medical care, not even once mentioned keto or intermittent fasting, because they only treat the symptoms and not the root cause. And then I dived into my spiritual journey while I was dealing with all my health issues, and then mostly because I was just trying to understand why this was happening to me. And then once that anger passed, that I started feeling the sense of gratitude, and so that I guess I'm here now, stronger and healthier. That because of what I went through, and now I can share my story to help others. And then hopefully, I know that not everyone's going to listen, but if I can help just one person, then all the suffering was worth it. And then so that's my past history. So I just wanted to stop here for now. That if you have any questions, or you want me to keep going on, or
You can, whatever. It's your episode. I'm just sitting here, so whatever you want to do. I can't believe how
yeah,
much that your life has changed.
yeah.
And I mean, it's hard to even know where to start asking questions, because so many things. So can we just kind of list again the things that you dealt with throughout your life that were resolved when you changed your diet? Because it's like a laundry list of things.
I
So
know. I actually
I
had
want
to
to make sure we
write down.
don't skip over anything here.
Yeah, yeah. So I had to actually write down because there's so many, right? That and I would for sure forget. The first thing went away was my gum inflammation that I've been suffering for more than a decade, and then all this pain and aches that was always there, and then GERD, that I was on a prescription meds for many years, which is a severe reflux. In case that your listener don't know what it is, and then my sleep apnea was gone, and then the fatty liver disappeared, and the benign tumor in my colon disappeared, and yeah, and then of course then my diabetes went away, and the depression and anxiety went away. So that there are probably more that I forgot about, but then and then all these things, that I had dry eyes for many years, and my vision improved, and then I was just my hearing improved. Actually, I just had a new set of hearing aids, and then the audiologist was like, oh, your right ear, which was so much worse than your left ear, and now they're about the same level. So that I actually had to adjust that. So that's what is happening, right?
Wow. I mean, that's amazing because that was because of being on the antibiotics that you had the damage to your ears. It's amazing to know that
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 was not
was
through the antibiotics, but it was because of chronic ear infection
the
that I had.
okay.
Yeah. But I was trying to find the reason why, and it must be like the my blood circulation works better, and then maybe nerves, functioning better, like the thyroid ketosis and whatever. So I don't exactly know the reason, but then all this crazy changes in my body, right? And then yeah, so that's
Y-
the list that I can think of. Probably more, but
Well, I think that's how it is, right? You heal like these big things and you're like these big things happen, but then when you start to think about all the little tiny like everyday things that are different, it's hard to like put a word to them or even pay attention to it. It's just one day you're like, "Oh, I don't have to do that anymore."
yeah,
Having like a chronic cough or something like that,
yeah,
like, oh, I don't do that anymore. It's gone.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
yeah, that I believe is pretty typical. So I want to talk about this change that you did. I love that you just kind of you heard it and you're like, I have nothing to lose. I'm diving in. So
yeah.
can you talk a little bit about like what food was like the day before or the day you heard that podcast to
Mhm.
what happened immediately following? What were the changes that you made?
So, yeah, so I started throwing out things from my pantry, and because that's the easiest way to keep the temptation away, right? That I stopped buying snacks, and then so the more difficult part was then my family is not on like a strict keto. It was just me, and then so kids were still eating carbs, but then but I think the sheer desperation did it because I thought I was gonna die like if I don't do something, and then so that I think that's the strongest motivator to stay on this journey. Like you mentioned it before, and then some people just can't afford to you know not stick to this path because that your health is gonna go back to the past, what you've been experiencing. That was the motivation that kept me, and then so I went extremely low carb, and then I started from like a 16-hour fast, and then which I extended to like 24 hours eventually, and then the 48 every other day. Like I mixed different types of fasting, which was recommended because otherwise your body will settle into the routine, right? That does the whole point is that keep confusing your body so that they'll work to the new routine, and then you'd keep making the progress and don't get stuck. And then so like a keto and intermittent fasting combined, and then that was like all I needed. Like I didn't really do anything complicated. I know that some people talking about that the fast according to your hormonal schedule, and then whatever it could rack whatever, and then but you don't need to think about things complicated. It just sometimes simplifying everything is like the best way to stick to it, right? That I tried to just slowly extend my hours of fasting, and then I just cut out all the bad things from my diet, and that was all I needed at the time. And I was just start seeing the result from like the first week, and then it just motivates you to stay on it, right? That uh, yeah. So that's how
Yeah,
I did it. Yeah.
I agree. I think changing the diet can be very self-motivating. Once you start seeing all these results, it's like, why would
Mhm.
I ever go back? So, but I love actually two things that you just said there was that you kind of have a process for your fasting and keeping your body guessing. And I love that you talked about the simplicity. Like so many people overcomplicate changing their diet and Well, especially if you have a diet mentality and you're used to tracking points or counting this, and it's hard to wrap our brains around the fact that it's just as simple as cutting
Yeah.
out these processed carbs and just eating everything else. And it's like, well, what else is out there? There's a ton of stuff out there. Just don't buy it in a box. So, but where I want to dig in first, because I think I get a lot of questions in my own practice, is fasting. And
Mm-hmm.
you seem to have a lot of experience with it. I think that there's like a right way and a wrong way. And unfortunately, people hear about it through something like this, through a podcast, or they heard somebody else did it, and they jump right in with this like week-long fast. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that's just not the right way to go. So can you just explain, you've alluded to it, but can you explain like the time it took for you to go from your 18 to some of these longer fasts? And then also, what is your process now? Because you've been doing this a couple years now. Is it still the same?
Yeah. What I found out through the experiences with other people that I've been talking, um, it's just different with everyone. So there's some people actually do extremely well, like just jumping right into it, and some people struggle and then have to start really slow. And you only have to try to see like what type of person you are. And I find that mostly guys that they're really good at jumping right into it, and then they love it because they don't have to cook, especially single men. They don't have to cook and clean, and then they love like this long fast. And then, but for women, I find that they like to prefer to go slower, and it works better for most of them. So that what I actually moved through the phases pretty fast. So that I only stayed 16 hours for the first week, and then I jumped into like every other day, 24-hour fasting, and the rest of the week, 16 hours. So that the 1 meal a day, 2 meal a day, 1 meal a day, 2 meal a day. That way, and then eventually the next step would be like a complete fasting for a day, right? So that I don't eat Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, but the other days I eat 2 meals a day, and then it's called therapeutic fasting. So it's not to like do for the rest of your lives, but then it's extremely effective to heal the metabolic illnesses. And most people do it usually 6 to 8 months, and then together combined with the diet change and keto and carnivore, whatever they're on, and then most of people heal their metabolic illnesses within that period of time, and then they find their own schedule to maintain it. So that for me right now, that I'm maintaining mostly with the 2 meals a day, and then sometimes you overeat on the weekend with social gatherings, and then I do the mealless Monday, which is I don't eat from Sunday dinner and until Tuesday lunchtime, which is about 42-hour fasting, and then it's great to. I feel amazing after indulging on the weekend sometimes, and then kind of cleanse your body. I don't do that every week, but sometimes on Mondays I do mealless Mondays, and then every 3 months as a maintenance of my health, that I do 72-hour fasting, and which I'll be doing at the end of this month with friends. You could join if you like, but then they need some prep time to get into that for most people, because it's very difficult if your body is not in ketosis, that you struggle to maintain this longer fast. So that I prep myself with the strict keto or like carnivore sometimes diet, and with high fat, so that my body would be already on ketosis entering this longer fast. And then the 72-hour fast is like a golden standard for like autophagy, and then some cancer prevention benefit, and like it's just good for general health. And then you feel amazing mentally, that you feel that mental superpower, that you're like so sharp, and then during that period. And So that's what I do to maintain myself at the moment. Yeah, but I did this therapeutic fasting for 6 to 8 months, and then that was all I needed at that time to heal everything, and then currently just maintaining for the past 2.5 years now. So yeah, with that.
Yeah, that's not, I mean, it's interesting because I guess like when I first started out for myself, I was fasting, like taking, I would do like all day Wednesday. I wouldn't eat, and sometimes I would extend it before and after. But then as I've gotten further and further along, I'm eight years into this lifestyle.
Mm,
I just consider eating 2 meals a day normal. I don't call that fasting. It's just what it's just like a normal day. But I've never done this like let me do a reset. Let me do something every 3 months or something. So
mhm.
that sounds really interesting. A good reset, and again that goes back to keeping your body guessing. It's like,
Yeah,
oh wait, I have to figure out how to do this for 72 hours. The body's thinking this, not the brain necessarily, but I got to figure out how to do this for 72 hours, and then you come out the other side just ready to
yeah.
go. That has my interest peaked. So let's talk about the flip side of
Mm,
fasting because I think everybody talks about
mm,
not eating.
mm,
What do you eat in between?
mhm.
So tell me about the foods in that early process. Like, do you have to eat more to get into a fast? And you said you have to prep a little bit to get into the 72
Oh,
hour fast. Can you kind of speak to how you should eat going into and out of a fast?
so going into it, that I try to eat high fat keto or carnivore. Um, Not always the same, but it's just like the rule for me is the extremely low carb, whether it's a keto or carnivore or like a keto, and the higher in fat, so that the um trying to get as much fat adapted as possible before going into the long fasting, and then you struggle much less to maintain that fasting period. So because you're already in ketosis, burning your body fat, so that if you have enough body fat around, which most people do, like these days, then yeah, you can go for 3 days. The only difficult thing is the mental thing that you get bored of not eating. Like that's when I realized that how much eating is the mental thing, right? That a lot of people depend on eating as a, you know, to feel good, not because they're hungry. So that yeah, I struggled that because I wanted to eat not because I was hungry, but then I kind of missed eating. So that was the more difficult part. But then when you are more fat adapted and then ketosis going into the fasting, that the hunger is not usually the biggest issue. That the it comes and back goes back, but then you can ride it out, and you can go as long as you have enough body fat. And then when I'm coming out of fasting, that's when you need to be careful, because a lot of people experience the digestive issues, because your body stopped producing insulin and then all this digestive juices in 3 days, so that when you eat something, it passes right through your system, so that uh, I mean, like a seasoned pastor said that they never break fast if you're not near the bathroom, right? that So what I've learned through the years that you need to eat a small amount of food, like probably like a 30 minutes before or like an hour before you actually start the actual meal, to wake up your system, so that some the book recommends you take like something like fibrous thing. But I don't usually eat a lot of vegetables. I just I eat whatever, and then just start waking up my system, something low carb or like protein or anything. But then wait for like an hour and then start eating. That seems to be reducing those ill side effect that from the breaking the fast. And then after then they can just go like start eating, because a 3 day is not a severely long amount. Like it will be just a much longer fast that you could have the refeeding syndrome, which could be actually dangerous. But then for 3 days, that as long as you take enough salt, water, and then I also take magnesium pills, but I don't really use like those commercial electrolytes unless you're advised to take potassium for like heart issues and stuff. But you don't really need anything other than salt and electrolyte. And then also like I'm not like really strict faster. I mean, like I do strict fast sometimes, but then some people are like, oh, you're not supposed to take one broth because it has a little bit of protein in it, and then you're not supposed to take coffee with cream because it has calories in it. And then I'm not that kind of person. I mean, like if you do it that way, then that's great. But then for me, as long as it doesn't increase my blood sugar, so that's like a higher fat, because that would be kind of like a insulin spike that break your fast briefly, like a stop autophagy. I mean, like a autophagy is always happening, but then that will slow down and like reduce the benefit of this 3 day fasting, right? That I'm doing it. So I try not to eat anything that would spike my blood sugar. So like just coffee, cream, and black tea and salt, and then electrolytes, and then yeah, that's what I do. But everyone does it differently, and then I'm fine with that. And I'm not like you should not take something like you did it wrong. Like sometimes I see that on the fasting group all the time, and
Yeah,
that's the same
that's
way.
how it is. Like even with like carnivore, people get this is like finger pointing. You're doing it wrong, and I'm so just like, look, it's okay. Like there, it's okay to have some crutches
Mhm.
to lean
Yeah.
on during a fast because
Mhm.
it's not spiking that insulin, and that's all right. Like it's not a time to point fingers and say that you're wrong. Let's just
Yeah.
appreciate what you did and how you did it. And yeah, I don't know why is we could be so unified on just
Mhm.
a path to health that has this range of what's acceptable, but then we have these extremes that are pointing fingers. It's like, oh, just relax. It's all going to be okay. But
Yeah, it's like yeah.
yeah, we
And
bump into that all the
I was
time.
similar to at the beginning of my journey, because I saw how like this healing happens with this lifestyle, and I just couldn't keep it to myself, and I tried to like evangelize everyone, and then you have to do like keto and intermittent fasting. But then since then I realized that everyone is on their own timeline, and sometimes like desperation is the only motivator strong enough to make the change. And then so, like, for those of us that who were like desperately ill, that and who felt our lives slipping away, and then we stick to this path because we're like really can't afford to go back, and then then and we've seen the other side, and we're never turning back. But then not everyone is the same, and then they just want to improve their health a little bit, and then for them their journey is not the same, so that I'm not pushing like for them to be strict. And then as long as they make the lifestyle changes at least a little bit and start seeing the benefits, and then I think that's why we're doing it, right? That we keep talking about the things exist, and then you can try it if you'd like, and then we can keep talking about it. And then also it's so funny that the reason I got so many attention from people are not because my health improved, right? That people started asking because as vain as it may sound, that I've lost 85 pounds during the process, and then even though my weight loss wasn't my primary goal, that's what people notice, right? And then they also notice this glow and then youthful energy that I haven't had in decades. So that if that's the reason that they come to me, then that's fine. And then you know, like I'm easy. Like I just try to give the advice that suits them, and then I don't try to push the strict lifestyle on anyone. And yeah, so I think that's important, that there is no one right way for everyone, and then not everyone's wrong or right that
Right. Yeah, I totally agree with you there. And that at some point, that's where that self-motivation starts to kick in. If you can just like, if somebody's journey is, I'm just gonna cut out food that comes in a box and go for a walk every day. They're going to
mm,
see some changes, and then it's going to be like, what else can I do? Because I feel good, but I feel like I could feel better. What else can I do? And that's a perfectly fine way to go through this journey. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. And
yeah,
so,
yeah.
yeah, I appreciate that. It's a very, I think, realistic view of how people work. And I guess when people get deeper and deeper into it, they forget that they had a day one and they
Mm,
had a week one and they had to struggle through, make substitutions and struggle through missing their favorite foods. And it does become easy to evangelize without remembering
right.
what that was like. Before I move on too far, because I want to go ask you another question, but you said the book says to, when you were talking about fasting, what book were you referring to?
So I read all the Dr. Jason Fung's book, and then I like his book because he's very good at explaining things, but then also simplified things, right? That I read other books too, but then it was so much more complicated for me that I have ADHD, and then I can follow the cycle. I can count the macros, so that for someone like me, that I need to simplify everything and then easy to follow. And then so for him, that what I like the most, that the similar with what we just said, that he worked with this Filipino ladies. He's in Toronto, so we have a lot of ethnic groups here, and then they've been eating rice for 6 years, and then you can't make them stop eating rice one day because they have diabetes. And then so what he did was that the least you could fast, right? That, and then that's better than nothing, and then actually it improved their health a lot. So for him, that even though he recommends low carb diet, he's not dogmatic about diet. That he's more into fasting, and then it helps his patient. And like he's the most famous guy in intermittent fasting world, and so that obviously works. And so I read all his books. So the obesity code, diabetes code, I think the complete guide to fasting, and then there were another book that Megan Ramos wrote, that who worked with him. I can't remember the title, but those are mostly the books that I read on intermittent fasting. And then his center called The Fasting Method has an amazing podcast, which is shorter, so that it was easier to listen to while I was going to work and coming back. So that those are my primary resources. And I read some other books written by Dr. Mindy Pelt, and which was great resource, but then she's more into the fasting, into the cycle, and which makes some sense because women get very insulin resistant the week before they have the period, so that's why you're more hungry, and then you crave carbs and stuff like that. So that so even though it makes sense, that for me, it was more complicated. So that I'm the person who listened to the body, that if it's harder to fast, this period, and I go easy. But then some weeks that the fasting seems easier, and I do it longer. I don't plan on going to like 48-hour fast, but I might try to do 24 hours. But then if it felt like okay, then I'll just extend another day, right? That I'm just that type of person, and then yeah. So I think it works for some of my friends because they don't like someone who's like, you have to do this like all the time and have to be strict. So that's how I am and what I do.
No, I love this because your theme overall is the simplicity of it. I mean, we just tend to make everything so complicated. And
Mhm.
yeah, we can read every single book that's available, but really that's when you start trying, well, I'm going to do this from this book and this from this book and okay, well then now you've complicated things. Pick one, try it
Mhm.
out, see how it goes. Don't
Mhm.
do anything else, just do that one thing. If it's not going to work for you, pick another one, try it out, see how it goes. It
Yeah.
just an important message to continue to get out there. Like it's only as hard as we make it,
Mhm.
and a lot of us tend to make it really hard, and it doesn't have to be that way. So let's
Mhm.
move into you talk about that you talk to friends and stuff. So do you coach or do you just is it more of like a mentor? Is it more just we're friends and we're chatting like people were interested? Oh, also totally want to just praise you for telling your story without talking about weight loss because I think that everybody focuses on weight loss and there's just so much more to this way of eating and this lifestyle. So thank you for holding off on that in your story. But so you're working with some people now just kind of on your own and then also you're going to classes like you dove in with both feet, as we like to say. So what does that look like? How are you helping others?
Um, so like I like so to deepen my understanding, I decided to pursue SMHP certification, but I'm close to finishing up now, but I'm not sure exactly where it's gonna lead me. But then I have no immediate plan for coaching or anything. All I do for people is just totally like volunteering my time, and then I still have my day job, and then this is just my passion project, and I just got my 5-year cancer remission status in May, and then I feel like I'm gonna live another 50 years now that instead of 10, so that I want to spend this time to be, you know, speak about this and tell people about keto and intermittent fasting, and then so that they would know that these options exist, and then standard medical care like I still doesn't talk about these enough, and then and I actually converted the several doctors along the way.
Good for
They
you.
told me they have never seen a patient reverse diabetes this quickly and all these other health conditions and then stay that way for over 2 years, which is the more important thing, right? That getting there, like if you're goal-oriented person, that getting there is not difficult, but then the maintaining is the most difficult part. And so now my doctors recommend low carb and fasting to other patients and provide as a this could be done. And then so that's why I keep sharing my story. And then this fasting group is just totally like a personal thing that I don't take any money or from anybody. I don't give any medical advice to them. That I just tell them that if you need any medical advice, you should go to the your healthcare practitioner. But then if they want to come to me and like as an accountability, and then like things like you just asked, like what do you eat going into the fasting, and then if you need any help, stay on, and then if they want to try keto or carnivore diet, and then I would give them advice how to go into it and stay on it, and what to remove from your diet, and then that's just what I do as my personal passion project. That I might do something in the future, like a coaching or anything. But for now, it's just totally my volunteer time and then my passion project. And yeah, so
Yeah. Hey, that's what this is. It's a passion project. So I
yeah,
totally get it. So,
yeah.
um, do you have like a formal group somewhere, like on Facebook, or is it just like you and
Um,
your friends that do it?
so it's usually because it's mostly my friends and acquaintances that through the WhatsApp. But
Oh,
then
okay.
it somehow started like that, and then they keep inviting their friends because they heard about me, and then, and then they want to join this fasting group. So that actually kept growing, and then we are not very active, but then sometimes I throw up that I'm doing this meal list Mondays. Anybody wants to join it, or like I'm doing a 72-hour fast at the end of the month if anyone wants the accountability, and then or we'll do it together. And yeah, so that's just what I do. And then if anybody wants to join, then they could let me know that I don't take any money. I don't give any medical advice. But then if you need me for any guidance, that I'm here. And yeah, I'd be happy to
There's
help.
just so much to say, so much good that comes from having accountability partners or a small group that you can talk to. You know, you become close friends and you can get through some struggles together. And because it's hard to do this on your own, especially if like your family members aren't doing it as well. So I
Mhm.
love that you're doing that. That you've been given this gift of time. You went from just that feeling of this imminent death, right? Like this is what's going to hit me next. Am I going to get breast cancer? Is that going to be what? Now it's all kind of reversed and gone, and you have this passion, and I think it's just beautiful. It's just
Mhm.
beautiful that you're using it. You're using this gift for good, that you've gotten some doctors to change their minds. Like nobody can do that, and you've already done it a couple times. That's just simply amazing. Or even that you had a doctor that asked, "Well, wait, what are you doing?" Like most of the times, if you talk to somebody, they're like, and they say something like that, and you're like, "Well, what did the doctor say?" And they say the doctor didn't even ask a question. So in
They
that way,
actually
you've been very fortunate to have some good people come along with you on this journey that you've been able to share along the way. It sounds just
uh,
so amazing.
yeah. Yeah, the doctors actually asked me first because I didn't tell them. I know that that's not always accepted, so that I didn't tell them what I was doing. And then it was like 3 months after that I reversed diabetes, and that was actually so funny when I saw the lab result. That the lab result said that they ran the test again in the lab because of the drastic change drop in the level, right? That so yeah, they saw this, and then they're asking like, "What are you doing?" And that's how I started their stories, and then yeah, like a normal 15-minute appointment, they actually like were very interested in listening. So that I went over, and then they listen, and then even though it'll be not their like a standard recommendation, that they started. I know that they started talking to me, talking to other patients, and then yeah, so that's the good thing that came out of this, right? That even though I suffered all this, that if I could change someone's life, then that's what it was worth it. And then I feel like that I was the luckiest person in the world now because I discovered keto and intermittent fasting on the exact same day I was diagnosed with the type 2 diabetes. Like, I mean, like, what are the odds, right? That I somehow stumbled upon this, like, a right path for me. And then it completely changed my life and it gave my life back. And then it gave me hope. And then, like, that if I could give hope to other people that who are going through this same path right now that I did before, and then that's like worth it, right? That's why we're doing it.
That's right. That is exactly right. It's just it's amazing. And you're doing all the right things by sharing it because it's touching someone somewhere. Just like you had this miracle that it happened on the same day. The more you put your story out there, somebody else will have that exact same experience. It's just
Mhm.
why we have to do it. Like that's why I think we come out the other side with this like urgency to do something. And
Mhm.
even if it's the tiniest thing, it makes a difference. And you're making waves. It's amazing. So this is a great place to stop, but I feel like we could talk about a million other, like we got real I got us real stuck on fasting, but there's so much more.
Uh,
So but it's been so wonderful to talk to you and get this story out there, and was just excited to share it. I was talking to another friend. It's like I'm interviewing somebody on a first interview. I'm so excited. So this is just number one. You're going to be out there, I think, a lot more because it's just everything that you've been able to do and to turn around and to change and have this, like I said, this gift of time to share this message. I think we'll be hearing more from you from other venues as well. So it's just very exciting. Where can people find you?
so I don't really have any like official website or anything, but then I do have a low carb Instagram called Low Carbology 101, and then that's just my personal Instagram. But then I was looking ahead. I'm planning to launch a personal still media project called the Metabolic Health Stories. That's the Metabolic Health Stories, and that's the Instagram account. I have nothing on it, so at the moment, but I'm a hobby photographer, and then I love taking portraits of people, and then my goal is to meet people who have walked this path and capture their portraits and then share their healing journeys in their own words, just like you do, but then you know still media, so that in a world dominated by TikTok and Instagram Reel, that I find that the video clips format sometimes is very overwhelming and easy to forget. And then so that was thinking of creating a space for like a people like me, that those who want to sit down and look at a face and then read a story in written format. So that's the project I'm thinking about, so that you can contact me through Instagram, either the Low Carbology 101 or Metabolic Health Stories account. And then my email is jsk722@gmail.com. If anyone wants to contact me via email. And then, yeah, so I just wanted to close by saying that I'm not saying that you should ignore the medical advice or standard care. That there is a time and place for it. But honestly, I wouldn't be here alive if there weren't any modern medicine. But then I just want to encourage and remind everyone that you have to be your own advocate. And if something feels wrong, and then don't settle for it, and ask questions, and do your own research and look at the different points of view, and then just don't be afraid of trying something else if something doesn't work for you at that time. Because that's how I found this, and it worked for me. And then yes, so
I love that. There's a lot to be said about that intuition. Like your body will tell you that something's up, and thankfully for you, you followed that.
mm-hmm,
Yeah.
yeah,
And now
mm-hmm,
you get to share that with everybody else and just again create those waves as you go. Jumi, it has been fabulous to have you on the show today. Thank you so much for joining me and just sharing all of that you've accomplished with just a simple, right? Simple. Again, you said it
yeah,
was simple.
a simply
A simple change has just done so much. And I just appreciate that you came on here and shared that with us today.
okay. Thanks, Robyn, and like it was a pleasure to meet you through online media. But then we'll see you in March, right, at the COSI conference. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Or to actually meet you in person and say hi.
Right, we've been in the same place at the same time, but we didn't meet one another. So this
Yeah,
time we're going to make it happen. So
right.
COSI in
Yeah.
March. It's going to be fun. I'm already like thinking about all the things I'm going to do while I'm there. So meeting Joomee is on the list, of course. Very, very high up on the list, of course.
Yes,
So
same. Yeah.
so, well, with that, thank you for hearing our keto biography.
Thank
Bye.
you for having me. Bye.